Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at a piece called Receiving Inconsistency. Do this and watch them obsess over you.
Obsessed.
Right.
Sounds kind of intense.
A little bit, yeah. But don't worry, this isn't about manipulating anyone.
Yeah. No, of course not.
It's more about understanding, um, you know, what's going on when you're getting mixed signals from someone
Yeah. Yeah.
and how to deal with that in a way that, puts you in control.
Gives you that power back. Yeah, that's important.
Exactly.
Exactly.
One of the things that I find really interesting about this piece is just how it really captures that feeling. You know when you're like being strung along
Oh, yeah.
and you're just left wondering like, what is going on?
Totally. It's like an emotional roller coaster.
It is.
Up and down, up and down. You never know what's coming next. And
Exactly.
the piece really gets into that whole thing of like constantly analyzing every little thing.
Oh, every text message, every call, every Instagram story view.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
So what's the solution?
Yeah. What do we do?
Well, the source basically says, stop chasing,
Mm-hmm.
pull back,
Okay.
and watch them come running.
Interesting. When I first heard that, it sounded a little bit like that old playing hard to get advice.
Right.
But I think if we dig a little deeper, there's actually some really interesting psychology at play here.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's break it down. So the piece is arguing that when you're always available, always reacting to them,
Mm-hmm.
you're actually giving them the upper hand.
You're basically saying, my time is yours, and they're taking advantage of that.
And you're kind of diminishing your own value by doing that.
Exactly. I always think of it like, if you're constantly offering someone a delicious meal,
Okay, yeah.
they might start taking it for granted. But if that same meal is only available once in a while, it suddenly becomes way more desirable.
Like a limited edition.
Right.
This is the principle of scarcity. I've never thought about it that way before.
It's powerful.
But it makes sense. You create that sense of mystery.
Yeah.
You make them wonder what you're up to.
They have to work for it a little bit.
And that can actually make them more interested.
Exactly. It's about shifting that power dynamic.
Right. So it's not about manipulating them or playing games.
No, not at all.
It's about taking back your own power
Owning your worth.
and focusing on yourself.
And that's where it gets really exciting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell me more.
The piece talks about using that time that you've reclaimed to actually invest in yourself.
Okay, I love that.
Pursue your passions, spend time with your friends.
Work towards those goals you've been putting off.
Exactly.
So it's not just about withdrawing from them.
No.
It's about stepping forward into your own life.
Yeah, exactly.
And let's be real, confidence is attractive.
It's magnetic.
People are naturally drawn to someone who's, got their own thing going on.
Absolutely. When you're radiating that kind of energy, it's noticeable.
So you're focusing on yourself. You're feeling good.
You're living your best life.
And then bam,
What happens?
the inconsistent person reaches out.
Oh, they always do. So what do we do then?
Yeah, what's the next move?
Well, the source actually gives some pretty specific advice.
Okay, lay it on me.
And it all comes down to not falling back into those old patterns.
So no more dropping everything to answer their text.
Nope.
No more bending over backwards to fit into their schedule.
Exactly. You have to maintain your composure,
Right.
keep those interactions light,
Okay.
and avoid those deep emotional conversations that just leave you feeling drained.
It's like you're almost mirroring their behavior.
It is, in a way.
They were distant. Now you're maintaining your distance.
You're setting a boundary.
You're showing them your time is valuable.
Exactly. It's not about being cold or playing games,
Right.
but it is about showing them that you respect yourself.
And that you have your own life.
Exactly.
It's funny how this advice, even though it's presented in the context of like attracting someone, it's actually so relevant to so many other areas of life.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about it. Setting boundaries, communicating your worth, prioritizing your well-being.
That's good stuff.
Those are valuable skills in any relationship.
You're right. Friendships, family, work,
It's about recognizing when you're being taken for granted.
and having the courage to step back and say, hey, I deserve better than this.
Exactly. So whether you're dealing with a flaky friend, a demanding boss,
Or Yes, that romantic interest who just can't seem to make up their mind.
This idea of strategic withdrawal can really be a game changer.
It can. It's about taking back control and setting those healthy boundaries.
Okay, so we've talked about the power of pulling back. But what happens when they start to step up their game?
Yeah, what about when they actually show up consistently?
Do we just keep pushing them away?
Well, that's where the next phase comes in, right? It's
Yeah.
all about finding that balance.
Okay, so let's dive into that. But before we do, we were talking about what happens when the inconsistent person actually starts making an effort.
Right. Like, how do you actually reward that consistency without, going overboard?
Exactly, because we don't want to fall back into those old patterns of like being too available.
Right, it's about finding that sweet spot. Not showering them with attention, but just acknowledging their efforts.
In a genuine way.
Right, exactly, like proportionate to what they're doing.
Okay, I'm still a little fuzzy on this. Give me an example. Like, say this person who's always flaking on plans actually shows up for a date. What do you do?
Okay, well, it can be as simple as just saying, hey, I had a really good time tonight. It was great that we could finally make this happen.
Oh, okay, so you're not like throwing a party or anything.
No. It's just a simple acknowledgement, like, I see you, I appreciate this.
Subtle but effective.
Yeah.
And as they continue to be consistent, like texting back regularly, being more thoughtful,
You made effort to be present.
you gradually increase your level of engagement.
Exactly. It's a dance,
Back and forth.
They take a step, you take a step.
And hopefully that builds trust.
Yeah, mutual respect. That's the goal.
But let's be real, this is all easier said than done.
Yeah.
I mean, dealing with someone who's been inconsistent,
It can be an emotional roller coaster.
for sure. What happens when they have one of those moments where they pull back again? Or, like, act out?
Yeah, because that's going to happen, right? Nobody's perfect.
Exactly. How do you handle that without losing your cool? Or getting sucked back into the drama?
Well, the source actually recommends something kind of interesting. They say you should mirror their behavior.
Wait, so if they pull back, you pull back even more?
Yep.
That seems like it would just create more distance.
It might seem counterintuitive, but the idea is to show them that you're not going to chase after their attention.
Like you're not going to beg them to be around.
Right. You have your own life.
So it's about setting that boundary.
Exactly. Showing them that their actions have consequences.
And that you're not just going to wait around for them to decide when they want to be present in your life.
Exactly. And by mirroring their withdrawal, you're also giving them space.
To think about what they're doing.
Right. To feel the natural consequences of their inconsistency.
It's like flipping the script.
It is.
Instead of reacting emotionally, you're responding strategically.
It's empowering, right?
Definitely. You're not the victim anymore.
You're in control
They're
now.
not at the mercy of their whims.
Exactly.
Okay, but this whole process still sounds emotionally challenging. How do you stay sane through all of this?
That's where the most important part comes in. Reframing your mindset.
Okay, tell me more about that. How do you actually do that?
Yeah.
Like change your thinking when someone's pushing you away, pulling you back.
Well, the source talks a lot about detaching your self-worth from the other person's actions.
So it's not about me. It's about them.
Exactly. Their hot and cold behavior, it's not a reflection on you.
It's a reflection of what they're going through.
Yeah, their own stuff, whether they're emotionally unavailable or dealing with their own insecurities.
Or just unsure of what they want.
Right, it's their issue, not yours. And when you realize that, it helps you detach from the emotional roller coaster.
And focus on yourself.
Yeah, your well-being. That's what matters.
So powerful. Because I think we often fall into this trap of thinking it's our job to fix them.
Or change their behavior.
And that's exhausting. And probably impossible.
Exactly. You can't control other people.
You can only control your own reactions.
That's it.
And that's what reframing is all about.
Yeah. It's a shift in perspective.
Taking responsibility for your own emotional state instead of letting their inconsistency control you.
And when you do that, when you embody that inner strength, it can actually shift the dynamic in the relationship.
They might actually start working harder to keep your attention.
It's funny how that works.
It's almost like this advice that seems so psychological.
Almost spiritual, right?
Detaching from ego.
Letting go of expectations.
Finding that inner peace.
It all comes back to you.
I love that.
Mm.
Okay, we've covered a lot today. We talked about understanding inconsistency, setting boundaries, rewarding good behavior, and of course that crucial element of reframing your mindset. What's been resonating with you most so far? Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you had to deal with someone's inconsistency?
Oh, so many times.
Let's dive into that and wrap up this deep dive with some final thoughts. It's funny, we started talking about how to make someone obsessed with you, but we ended up in this whole conversation about self-love and, personal growth.
Yeah, it's really interesting how those things are actually so connected.
Totally. When you're feeling good about yourself, it just radiates outward.
It really does. You're not desperately seeking validation from other people.
Exactly.
You're not trying to control their behavior.
You're just solid in yourself.
Yeah, you're coming from a place of inner strength.
And honestly, that's probably more attractive than any trick or tactic you could use.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Who are you more drawn to?
Right.
Someone who's confident and secure in themselves.
Or someone who's constantly seeking approval.
It's a no-brainer.
Totally. Okay, but let's be real for a sec. Even with all this great advice, can you actually have a healthy relationship with someone who's been super inconsistent?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah, can a leopard change its spots?
Well, I think it really depends. People can definitely change and grow.
Okay.
But it takes a lot of self-awareness.
Right.
And a real desire to do the work.
So it comes down to whether they're actually willing to, address the root of the problem.
Yeah. And that's not something you can force.
No matter how much you might want to.
Exactly.
But even if they don't change, the good thing is you're taking control of your own experience.
You're not a victim of their inconsistency anymore.
You're setting boundaries.
You're focusing on yourself.
And you're not letting their actions determine your self-worth.
Yeah. You're creating a safe space for yourself within the relationship.
So even if they're still, a little unpredictable, you're not letting it wreck you emotionally.
You're choosing to respond differently.
From a place of strength.
And self-awareness.
And that's, a game changer in any relationship, really. Romantic, friendships, family.
It all applies.
Totally. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with something to think about. Think about your own relationships. Where have you encountered inconsistency? And how can you use what we talked about today, setting boundaries, rewarding consistency, and reframing your mindset to make those relationships healthier and ultimately more fulfilling? Remember, you deserve to be treated with respect and consistency. And sometimes the best way to get that is by, giving it to yourself first.